Oh no, now the knee. Well, that was it. Manu, what's he done there? He sold the dummy with a knee injury. It's a fake knee injury. That is set up and thrown from Momirovski.
It's the next tackle. He gets an offload. He goes back and gets the football. Probably feels a cramp coming on in the back of his calf. And then just takes off.
Oh, what a beauty. So, you pick which has been the better moment. The bloke kicking the ball back from the traffic at the southern end, or Manu, the cramp, the fibber, and takes off to set up a try.
Welcome back, ladies and gents, to another episode of the Supercoach Tragics podcast. I'm your host, Dan, coach of Badongadong. Tonight with me again from last week, we have Roscoe from Off the Bench, mate. Thanks for joining again, mate.
No problems at all. It's good to be on again after you've paid the favour back last week coming on our pod, which was great. So thank you for that.
That's all right. I'll do one of yours. You do like 50 of ours. That seems like a fair trade, mate.
Sounds like fair. Yeah.
How'd you go last week, mate?
Oh, it was a mixed bag, Dan. I'm not going to lie. I got 1,037. Captained Holmes. Had some good scores in there of Hines, Strange, Savage, and Ponga. But then, unfortunately, had Dom Young's minus 15 and Liam Henry's minus 1 as well. Played them both. Had Mays 21. Had Tupanua's 22. Hutchinson for 30 and Salmon for about 30. So it was a bit of a mixed bag. But moved up 4,000 places, but still back in 43,000. But slowly working to my side to near where I wanted it to be at.
Yeah, no, that's it, mate. It's all about baby steps, mate. You still got time to catch up. Like I said, I was ranked around 7,000 when I started, and then I went back to 20,000, and now I'm back to 10, just plodding along nicely. So, but I am pretty upset with. Okay, I know it sounds like being a bit whingy, but I'm pretty upset with my score considering I missed all the injuries and all the negative scores last week. I'm upset because I missed on some of the good scores. Missed on some of the good scores too. So I got 1141. Very happy with that score, but the fact that I haven't got Ponga, which is still the one that bit me in the ass when I traded him out to Turbo a couple of weeks ago. So at some point, I got to realise I got to bite the bullet and realise I made a mistake and then trade him back in. So spoiler alert. But yeah, 1141. I'm sitting around 10k now, so a bit nicer than where I was before on the way back. So.
Should we be nasty here, Dan, and do a bit of a shout out to our offsider from Off the Bench after what happened to him on the weekend?
Mate, whenever I do it, being a Panthers supporter, it's kind of like cruel to tease a Broncos supporter. Mate, I'll leave the honours to you because I don't want to be giving more torture from a Panther to a Bronco.
I hope Timmy's not watching this pod, but he could be. I know he's away at the moment enjoying holiday with his kids, but was ranked 7,000 last week. Was doing nicely, and his son got a hold of his phone. Well, he claims his son got a hold of his phone, and captain Liam Henry on him, who scored a minus 1. He finished around with 700 points and dropped from 7,000 to like 52,000.
That's brutal. Yeah, I still claim that he was trying to do a pod move and captain Henry.
I think he was going a week early looking for that loop.
Yeah, that's it. Oh well, yeah. I feel for him, but he's probably going to hear it enough for over the next few weeks. He's not going to. This will be like an end of year presentation. We're going to be who had the worst week.
I've got to say too, because I listened to the podcast today, Experience Pod with Timmy Moody and Savs today, and the poor bloke got a mention on that podcast as well about it.
Oh, Timmy. I hope this trip's worth it. I hope this trip away is worth it. All right, let's get started, guys. So we'll jump into the overall leader in the Supercoach Tragedies group. No changes at the front there. The Dead Hand Gang, Quentin, still coming number 1. Ranked 196, great work. Got an 1166 last week, which is pretty good in a bad week. But sneaky little props to Amanda from Manhip. 1353 she scored last week. And catching up nicely, ranked at 540 now. So coming in second place there, nice and close, yeah. So, all right, before we get started, what I'll do now is I'm going to do the little intro for our team list. I haven't done it for a while, so.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! Get ready to rumble!
There we go. Gotta love the little intros. I got bored of them for a while, but I'm back into them again. All right, so we got game 1 Thursday night. Knights up against the Roosters. I'm bringing Ponga back in. Spoiler alert for the trades at the end, but I think the way I reckon he could put on a bit of a clinic against the Roosters, who are pretty decimated.
Yeah, he looked really good last week. I mean, those conditions that he played in last week on Friday night were absolutely horrific. And he still pulled out 117. It was just an absolute masterclass. That game was unbelievable to watch, I thought, Dan. It was N10 stuff in absolutely terrible conditions. But yeah, Ponga's just coming good now. And I know you traded him out, Dan, but there was a lot of people round 3 that traded him out. I think it was like 20,000 that traded him out at round 3. Like, I think they're all scraping the barrel somehow to try and get him back in now. But the $1 million question is, I mean, if you've got a combo of Drinky and Turbo, I don't think you can bring him back in, Dan.
No, I think when you got that combo, I think you kind of bite the bullet and you just say you can't have them all. You got to call Ponga the Pokemon you can't catch. But I think if you've got like me, I've got the Trell who's obviously gone. Teddy is an obvious choice there, but then you have to say obvious choice. If you had a choice, and we'll kind of go into a bit further as well, but if you had a choice to get, let's say you got Turbo and Teddy, would you pick Ponga, no questions asked, or would you think about Drinkwater?
I did my article the other day, which is up on the Tragics page as well as off the bench page, and I put down 3 there. I had down Turbo, Ponga, and also Drinky as all as potential replacements for either Teddy or Trell, and I put them in order just basically on their draws, Dan, and how I think they're going to go. And I put Ponga number 1, and I actually had Turbo number 2 and Drinky number 3.
I think you're right. I like the reason. My thoughts, I agree as well. I think that we mentioned it a few times on a few different podcasts, but I think there's too many points to be shared around with high quality Supercoach output players in the Cowboys. You've got the Holmes, you've got the Dearden, who often, whenever Dearden goes really big, often you'll see Drinkwater misses out a little bit. So I think that for consistency purposes, you're probably after a Turbo or a Ponga for sure.
Now, I think the other one I did mention too, Dan, was Pappy as well, because I know he's quite popular. He's a pod. Obviously, without the goal kicking, doesn't make him probably as appealing. And again, same thing with Drinky too, Dan, is that there's too many other mouths to feed there. You've got Nick Meaney who can score well, Hughes that can score well, Munster that can score well. You've got Harry Grant that can score well. So for me, I mean, you look last week, for example, they scored 30-odd points, and I think Pappy only scored 50. And I just think without that goal kicking, he's just not as appealing as the others.
Well, you know what's going to happen. He's going to be like getting 50s, 30s, and then every now and then he's going to pop out at 180. It's just what he does. But yeah, whether you want that consistency, and another thing as well, it's coming back from some terrible injuries. There is a bit of hesitancy there. It happens quite a lot with that hesitancy. I struggle to get that word out. Crap. No, he's going to come back. He's going to be doubt in his mind whether he can actually go full pelt in the tackle. If he's injured again, it's always going to be in the back of his mind. Speaking of number 1s, let's have a look at the other side there. A lot of people thinking about bringing Manu in the centre wing there. Thoughts here, mate?
Yeah, straight in my team, Dan. Dom Young's obviously out because he's suspended. No hesitations to bring Manu in, especially playing fullback. The draw's okay coming up. He does average well at fullback. I think it's a good matchup for him as well, this one. The only thing we don't know is with Teddy, with him having his 10th concussion now, is he going to only be out for a week or is he going to be out longer? I know that the Roosters are pretty strong on these concussions and stuff like that. So there could be a world where Teddy could be out a week longer. And then the other way I look at it too is I'm pretty sure they play 2 of the 3 major buys, so he'll get fullback there too. And I just think that he's scoring well enough for me in the centres. to bring him into the team. And he's a good price too. He's under 700k. So he comes in for me then for sure.
Yeah, no, I like him a lot. I think yeah, it's one of those guys that you get in every year for Origin, and like, so what, your hand gets forced a little bit earlier in the season to grab him. So what? Like, I just got other problems to worry about. So, but I would, if I had no other problems to fix, that'd be in a heartbeat straight away. I'd be bringing him in. Like that. I find that the problem. This is the problem I have with him though. He's the only one I would get in the back line. Because when he is there, he hogs the ball, which is good for him. He gets all the points, but he does not like to share the ball. Takes that ownership role. He puts all the pressure on himself. So I think I wouldn't be touching anyone in the back line.
I think we saw that a couple of times in the last couple of games. For the Roosters when you own Dom Young, very frustrating that there was a couple of times where Dom Young was open up and just. He was just happy to run the ball, and he got over the line. That got pulled back one game, and he could have passed to Young, who was open. Very frustrating as a owner for Young, but happy to be on Manu this week with him playing fullback and no Young there.
100%. So we'll go to the forwards now. Have a look. So a couple of things to talk about here. We got Dylan Lucas named again on the edge there. I think was it Frizzell who's got a bit of a niggle at the moment.
Yeah, so NRL Physio's got Frizzell back round 7 to 8, so he could be back next week. So I don't think I could be jumping on Dylan Lucas. If you are going to do it, this is a week, but I don't think the job security is great. He'll just go straight back to the bench for Frizzell.
Yeah, definitely. KP's Paul as well, not doing the worst things in the world, but not doing the greatest things in the world. Going to make some cash, but very slow, a bit of a slow burner. I'll be holding on for a little bit longer until he tops out, and then he's gone.
Yeah.
Over for the Roosters.
Just one more thing, Dan. Sorry, Dan. Just one more thing on the night. Obviously, keep an eye on Greg Marzu as well. It's named on the extended bench.
Ooh, yeah.
If he gets a run, he'll be definitely one to watch if he can drop some cash nicely. He's definitely going to be one to keep an eye on the next sort of 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, I like that. Especially that'll help Ponga as well. Get a few more tries. He's potentially on that edge. So definitely. Going over the Roosters forward pack. So it's good to see a gun back doing some good things there from I guess a blast in the past, and Angus Crichton there doing some pretty good things. Would you be looking at jumping on him soon?
I was contemplating bringing him in this week, but I'm still don't know. Like we said on our pod the other day, didn't we? That it was last year. It was Ricky's roulette. This year it seems to be Robbo's roulette. So with the break even around about 23, it wouldn't hurt to look at him for another week and just see what minutes he plays, because obviously you got the 80 minutes last week, but they had obviously all those injuries and stuff like that, and the HIAs. So I do want to have another look at him first before I make a decision on what I'm going to do. But I do think that he's got the spot locked in. It's just a matter of whether he does play 80 minutes or not.
Yeah, like from what I've seen all year, he's been playing that one edge back row of 60 minutes and then bringing the benchy on to finish the game.
Yeah.
But like you can't really tell from last week, because last week there was a lot of injury-ridden issues.
Yeah, well,
that
Butcher didn't play. Well, that's it. That Butcher didn't play last week, and he's the one who's been getting that 80 minutes. And he's another one to keep an eye on too. He's very expensive though. That's the only problem. But he's been punching out some good numbers as well.
Yeah, I think if I'm gonna, but good numbers. But if I'm gonna get an expensive player in the second row, I'm looking for someone a bit more, I guess, with more pedigree. Yeah. We've got Terrell May on the bench again. What are we thinking? Do we trust his minutes at the moment? That was a pretty slack week last week with minutes.
Well, I was trying to work out exactly what was going on, what happened. The only conclusion I could come to was that their rotations were out of whack with all the HIAs and the send-off to Dom Young. Whether that sort of stuffed up their rotation system, and that's only why he got 20 minutes. But other pods I've watched this week now said that supposedly he missed the team bus. So I don't know what to take out of that. But one thing I will say is I don't understand why 3,000 people are selling him. I'm pretty confident he goes back to 40 or 50 minutes this week unless something else happens. I wouldn't be selling him. There's no way in the world.
I'll rock up Sydney, mate, and I'll make sure he gets to the bus in time. So,
Well, it's at
I mean,
Newcastle, so yeah, we'll just rock up to the front of Allianz and just make sure he gets on there.
that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Let's move on to game number 2. We have Storm versus the Bulldogs. Speaking of Puppy, what do you think? Think this is a game where Puppy could actually open up again?
Oh God, yeah, yeah. But as I said though, it's a if you owned him, fantastic. I think he goes well this game, but yeah, just think like Pappenhausen, Meany, Munster, Hughes, Grant. Like there's so many players there that can score points, super coach wise. I really like Elise Katoa for this one, Dan. I'm pretty keen on Elise. He's on my radar to bring in, but I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. But I do really, really like him. He really looks good on that edge. And even Sean Bloor could be a smoky too, Dan. He looked really good on his return to edge last week as well.
Yeah, because I think I've always liked the Bulldogs haven't got the worst defense on the edge. The edge back role has been pretty good defensively. So I'm trying to think but it's because Preston's a pretty solid defender, and Curran himself is actually a pretty good defender. But what are we thoughts on? Who was it? Kikau on the other side there. He has a habit of shooting in and missing at times. So they definitely could be a chance to. And Kikau's on the left-hand side. So the right edge would be Curran, I think. Right edge would be Alicia Katoa. So I think he'd be the one that benefits a bit more. I think Curran defends too well for Bloor to get anything.
The only other thing I'll mention on this team list is that Max King has actually been ruled out, so he won't play. They haven't updated the teams as to who starts. I'm presuming that hopefully Sam Hughes will start, but I wouldn't be surprised if the way that Ciraldo's going that he doesn't start Palasa. But I still think it's going to be good minute. I still think Hughes is in for decent minutes as well. So if you need to play him, play him. I am this week because obviously Liam Henry's on the bye, and I've only got Palasa as my other. But I think Max King is a big out for them. He supposedly could be out for 3 to 4 weeks. He had the same injury that Kurt Mann had with a fractured hand, I think it was.
Yeah, I think the initial reports were like, I think it was 4 to 6 or something, like, or 4 to 5 weeks or something, and then next day he gets named, and we're like, wait a minute, that doesn't seem right. But obviously you'd assume that Liam Knight comes into the team there, and probably start from the bench. I reckon they'll start with Posa from Famasuli. Like they did at the start of the year, and then you saw what they did with him. They played him for like, I think it was 15 minutes straight. Yeah, that was it, and that's all he played.
Minutes and that was it. Yeah.
So I still reckon you're right. I'm actually I'm looking at. I've got Terrell May and Cotter as my starters, and I've got Hughes on the bench. I'm thinking about maybe potentially swapping May and Hughes this week. It's a bit of a risky play, but just that's it. It'd be definitely. I'll wait to see the team list for that to happen.
Yeah. So. It's going to be interesting to see how Critter goes at fullback too, Dan. Obviously, he's not a buy at fullback because he's only there one game. But if he does go well, Taff hasn't been exactly setting the world on fire, but he could be definitely one to keep an eye on. If he does keep that fullback spot, then he does do well. He's only around 550k, so not the worst option if he does well.
Yeah, I highly doubt it. I think that they've made their mind up with that position there. I'm not the biggest fan of Critter at number 1. Had his chance a few times in Penrith there, and it just never worked each time.
Yeah.
But it's funny, but then he'd go and fill in, like let's say they give Dylan Edwards a rest, and he'd go to play fullback the last 10 minutes, and he'd look amazing. When he every time he started in that position and stayed there, he's had a horrible. I think I'm not sure if it's nerves or if he wasn't sure about it, but. I just don't. He has the potential to be one of the greats. To me, he reminds me a bit more of like how Hamaso was. And Hamaso hasn't been the best until recently. So I think he needs some time at fullback to actually be relevant in that position.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on Curran? Would you be trading him in now? He's got the dual position. Do you think he's a trade-in?
I never even thought of getting Curran in my team just because I was. Like, you look at everyone talks about Robbo's roulette, look at the constant juggling acts they've been doing with their forwards at the Bulldogs. There's so much depth in the forwards, not good depth, but like it's all a heap of up and coming youngsters, and they're happy to just move them around whenever they want, especially with a new coach. Honestly, I haven't even looked at him, but I wouldn't be getting upset with anyone at the moment. Being that he's playing on the edge, I'm not as enticed by him.
I was going to say the same thing. I was going to say the
Mm.
same thing, Dan. I preferred him coming in on after 20 minutes off the bench and playing through the middle, and does a lot more work, a lot more tackling on the edge. Well, I don't even think he even played 80 minutes last week either, from what I can remember. He played 66 minutes, so he's not even getting 80, and he hasn't really put out any decent scores. He's averaging around about 60, so I don't know if I'd be trading him in.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be trading him in. But like if you started with him, he's been plotting along nicely for you. But I wouldn't be trading him in. There's definitely better options out there. Like we mentioned 1,000 times that my second row is all mid ranges that just aren't going anywhere. So for me to trade him in, that'd be just me trading one mid range to another mid ranger, and I'm still in the same position I was, so sideways.
Yeah.
So, alrighty. So in this game, I think actually. With the forwards being a bit lighter for the Bulldogs, I can see the big three, Puppy, Hughes, and Munster, tearing these guys through the middle. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, 100%.
These are massive scores.
I am so scared not owning Hughes this game. I think he's the one that goes big again. I know that Brad from off the bench brought him in last week and VC looped him in. He'd end up, I think he traded out Brooks and bought in Hughes. Good trade too. But yeah, gosh. It's nearly tempting to go Dylan Brown to Jerome Hughes, Brad. Dan, I should say. The thought of it's there, but yeah, God, I don't know.
Yeah, I think one player I didn't mention as well, but I think Harry Grant also with those forwards that not getting the minutes, he's going to be pushing through. He's going to probably. My bold prediction now is Harry Grant scores a try for these tied forwards.
He's due. He's due a try. He hasn't scored one yet.
Yep. Alrighty. Anything else in this game before we move on?
Nah, that's it.
All right.
It obviously looks like Ball's tied down that edge spot too, with Chan named as 18th man as well.
Yeah, I think that's a bit harsh. Frankly, like I don't get me wrong. I think Ball had a decent game on the weekend, but that's unfortunate because Chan came off a really good game before he had a hand infection. And like it's just unfortunate because he did such a good job, and then all of a sudden he loses out because he got an injury or illness. Yeah. And they filled up with another guy who happened to step up. So yeah,
it's bloody annoying because a lot of us own him, and he's got a negative break even. He may not play another game.
All soon see, I guess.
Yep.
Alrighty, let's have a look. Queensland Derby, Broncos versus the Dolphins here. Reece Walsh named to return. Oh my God, this is the part that hurts me. We're talking about fullbacks all game. He's going to have a juicy break even after this game, mate. He's going to start losing some dosh, hopefully. And I would like to have him for a nice juicy run.
I'll tell you what, it's frustrating, isn't it? Like, there's so many options for fullbacks, isn't there? It's just like, can't fit them all in, you know what I mean? So you got to... I really like him as a pod play. If you are going off Latrell or you are going off Teddy and you want a pod play, I think Walsh is the man to go to. They've got a really good draw coming up to the Broncos as well, and if he gets that goal kicking, I just don't know. If I knew he was going to get the goal kicking over Stags, then he's definitely an option, Dan, for sure.
Yeah, how long's A-Ray out for? Do we know?
Well, they're saying 3 to 4 weeks at this stage.
Could be anything with A-Ray. So
yeah.
All right, another player here kind of sneak under the radar, been quite nice for the whole season, really. Is Jesse Arthur's been doing some good things there.
Yeah.
A lot of people started with him. I was going to go Arthur's, and I went Bostock instead. Hasn't been the worst move either, but would have been good to have both. I can be pretty selfish to get both of them, but yeah, I like Arthur's. He's the sneaky pod. So I'm gonna one of our regulars on here, Brod. got him as a pod last week, and shout out to prop to Brod. He got to 1,200 points last week. Nice score. He got in his little pod player, Carrigan. Carrigan is just plonking out unbelievable high. I still reckon he averages about 10, 15 points more when Haas is out.
Yep. Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about it. His work rate goes through the roof. Plays more minutes. The only thing I'm going to say onto this one is that Jordan Ricky's actually been ruled out as well. And looking at those reserves, I don't know if you can scroll down, Dan, at all to the reserves. To me, it looks like my guess would be is that Paddy Carrigan most likely goes on to an edge. And then you'll probably find that someone like Kobe Hetherington will probably come in and play lock. That's my guess. I don't know what you think. I just looking at those reserves, I don't see who else comes in there to play on that edge.
Yeah, I think it would be good to see Takura get another run on the bench at least. So that could be a possibility. If Hetherington is a no in 13, you can play a 13 there. Yeah, I think that could be a potential move there.
I just don't know what else they would do there looking at that bench. I don't know what Josa, whatever his name is, the number 22. I don't know what position he plays. Blake Mozia, he's a halfback or a hooker or something. I know that. And then you've got Kapow and Takura that are both front middle forwards.
No, I'll do, mate. I'll give the Colt Hero a crack. I'd give Corey Oates a crack at second row, mate. Let Carrigan stay there. We all know Corey Oates wants to be
actually that could be what happens. Yeah. Maybe that's what they do.
Yeah, and then
they bring Pereira in.
Yep, bring Pereira in. That could be an option as well. So, or they could even do something like bring Takura in, put Sailor on the wing. So, but yeah, I like that because he's been playing in the middle when he's been playing the last 10 minutes. So who knows?
Carrigan's good. But I think Haas is back next week, isn't he? Is that right? Next week or the week after, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't that far away.
He's not far. Yeah.
Alrighty, let's look at the Dolphins. Hammer. So we've been wondering for a while now, is he a keeper? Is he a keeper? This is the game we're going to figure that out, I reckon.
100%.
So,
I agree. Yep.
I've got him in my team. I'm hoping he does really well. I can see him. I don't know. I just think they turn up for the not the Broncos, but they turn up for the Queensland Derbies. So I think he's going to have a bit of a crack in this game. I can see. Yeah. I just don't know how he's going to go through too many gaps. But you saw they licked a few points against Melbourne last week.
So
did Melbourne, frankly. But so there could be a few points in this game. It'd be good to see some points for everyone.
Just quietly, Isaiah Katoa's flying under the radar too. Scoring pretty well. He's got the dual position now, halfback 5/8 as well now too.
What did he score? Because I know he got a try last week. So that would have been flattered his score a fair bit.
He's had scores of 74, 24, and 53.
That's the problem.
Not great. Not too great, but yeah.
So 74 would have been his last game, I assume.
Yeah, 406k as well. It's a bit of an awkward price.
Yeah, he's got that. He's a good half. He's got a good ball playing skills, good game management there. Got a very calm head on his shoulder. But having a calm head doesn't really equate to super coach points very often. To me, he's kind of like Ilias style. But I don't want to say that too loud because Ilias is no longer playing for a while. So I just can't see many points coming in from on a regular basis. I can see a very low base out of him. So
yeah.
Alrighty, we got JMK looking pretty good. He's one of those guys to be looking at trying to get on as a second hooker soon.
Yeah, it's gonna be Lussick to him just prior to Origin, because he plays all three big buys as well. So he'll definitely come into my team at some stage. So I'll definitely be looking at him. But Lussick's frustrating the shit out of me. I mean, I'm so annoyed that I went Lussick to Levi to Lussick, and Levi's now making more money and made more points than him.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I think Levi's the leading try scorer at the moment. Just happens to be there all the time.
Far out.
But one player just if you want a safe bet in your centre wing, playing second row, you want Aiken sitting there doing the right thing, just sitting there scoring 50s every single week, doing nothing.
Yeah.
So you got 54 last week with a 69 minutes game. So I'm not sure what happened there.
Josh Kerr's been potting along nicely too for those who've got him as well, Dan.
Yeah, what is he? Just over 400 now, I think. He's over
is,
around the 330 mark. Yeah, and we think I thought Flegler was going to be out. Wasn't Flegler holding a AC joint?
Well, AC, yeah, that's what they said, but he's been named to play, so obviously he's had scans, and it's obviously not as bad as they thought it was.
Well, AC joints often they play through. This happens
Yeah.
quite a lot. Very, very more recently when Cleary played the last half of the season with needles every game. So we know if someone as small as Cleary can do it, someone as tough as Flegler could probably do it too. But in saying that, it's probably a lot bigger shoulder too. So it might hurt more. Yeah. Kerr, I like Kerr, but I think I've got more problems to worry about to be focusing on little niggly things like that.
Yep.
Well, righty, let's move on to the next game, and we have the Warriors up against the Seagulls. So, Chance looked pretty good on his return there.
He did. It's a bugger that he's only available at fullback, isn't it? I mean, I'd love to get him into my team, but I couldn't have him in the fullback position. There's way too many options ahead of him, but he looked good. SJ was obviously on fire again, the SJ of old. He looked really, really good as well. And Wade Egan's just plodding along nicely. And the other one's obviously Jackson Ford as well, Dan. He's going well.
Yeah, but I think the other one we haven't mentioned there, but I think me and you were spoken about it off air, is Tamari Martin. A lot of people talking crap about the option of bringing him in, saying he's never been Supercoach relevant, never been. But think of it, and this is how I think of it, when he was playing last time, he wasn't playing with the current Warriors. The current Warriors are actually really, really good to ball running 5'8". So I think he's very undervalued. I think he was my main one that I'm looking to pick potentially to replace Brown if I decide to trade Brown out. I just think there is security issues there with CHT on the bench, but if that was going to be an issue, why would he be named to start again? I think he's made his mind up. That's what's going to happen. Thoughts there?
Yeah, look, I think we may have discussed this the other day as well on the pod. That I was pretty keen on bringing in Tamari Martin in for Dylan Brown, 363k, dual 5'8" fullback. I mean, I'd never use him at fullback anyway, but I think if you're going to bring him in this is a week, he's got to break even a -25 as well. So it's definitely the week to bring him in. The draw is pretty good, Dan. I'm not going to lie. They've got Manly this week, which is obviously a tough matchup, but it is at home. But then they've got the Dragons and the Titans. So I think I think this is the week.
Yeah, I swapped a few times when who I was going to bring in, and I put him in there again recently, and I'm like, oh, looking at his draw, I think it's a pretty sexy draw. Like, the toughest game is against Manly, but it is in New Zealand, so that kind of softens the blow a little bit there.
I did have to make some changes to some of my draft teams because I've got a few with Teddy and I've got a few with Latrell, and did pick up TMM in a few of the drafts, so hopefully he does well this week anyway.
Nice. Yeah, I had Latrell in one of my drafts as well, but luckily I snuck in a Buller nice and late in the draft, so I got a nice little backup there, which is good.
At least you don't have a draft where I have, where I've got 3 fullbacks that aren't playing this weekend.
No, I might just trade one out.
Dylan Edwards, Latrell Mitchell, and I can't remember who the other one was. There was another one as well, but yeah, all 3 of them not playing.
Good. Let's move on to Manly's backs here. So DCE and Turbo looking pretty good at the moment. They looked really good last week together, working some pretty good forms out.
Yeah, they did. Luke Brooks is starting to become a bit disappointing too. I know he got a 55 on the weekend. I think a lot of owners were pretty happy at the start with him that he was scoring well, and they were going, "Oh, this is the season. He's going to become relevant." But I don't know if he is going to be. If you've got other issues, I think you hold on to him. But I think you could probably sell him now. And Ola Kawadu is another one I'm looking at this week, Dan, who just keeps plotting along. He's just doing a job. but I don't own him. I sold him, but I don't like Burbo in the centres. It's not ideal. He'll get the 80 minutes, but I would have much preferred him to be in the back row.
Oh, 100%. He gets skipped quite a lot when he's on that left edge there. So he does get a lot of cut-out balls past him. Doesn't make as many tackles, so he's less chance of attack and less tackles to make. So he scores unless they pass it through to him and he gets a sneaky little try. He needs a try to get a decent score this week. That's for sure.
Yeah. I just think it's odd that they've got him playing in the centres, Burbo, when you've got guys like Brad Parker and Vega and that sitting on the bench there that are capable enough of playing that position. It's not like they're injury riddled and they don't have any other options.
Yeah, I don't know. I think because they got I think they're rewarding Corey Waddell for having a great game last week as well. Corey Waddell had a really good game last week, given that starting spot. But yeah, no, and all that talk in the background with Schuster gone somewhere, not sure where yet, we don't know, but he's been granted release. So trying to empty half a pocket full of 800k for their salary cap for him.
I just think that the only place he could potentially end up is overseas in Super League.
He'd get bloody golden boot over there, mate. I thought he would get.
Hey, listen, if Blake Austin can get golden boot over there, then anybody can get golden boot. Okay. I just don't see anyone signing him up. To be honest with you, there was talk that he was going to be linked with Parramatta, and I think it was the Dragons, but I just think Dragons have got so much depth there in the back row. They've just signed Lucy as well. He's there, and then they've got some really young edge back rowers playing in New South Wales Cup as well, like Dan. Can't think of his last name, but there's a few of them there. So, yeah. I mean, if I'm getting paid 800k a season, Dan, to be playing New South Wales Cup, so be it.
Yeah, less chance of getting hurt against the big boys. Or I'm not saying they're not big; they're bigger than me. Less chance of getting hurt against the higher level of.
Yeah, it's a bit like Lolo on $1 million a season playing 20 minutes a game.
Yeah, it's like me going to work, mate, and getting all this money just to do an easier job. That's what.
Oh god.
Alrighty. Pretty much it. Oh, yeah, we've always spoken about the Warriors. Well, nothing else really to say about Tofu Harris, Jackson Ford, Barnett, Egan, almost anyone in that front row, because not minus Catewell. I would have in my team in a heartbeat, the way they've been playing.
100%, but I think we've forgotten the biggest part of them all, and I'm so tempted, and that's DWZ, Dan. With that draw coming up, he's up against Paulo this week. Oh, mate, he could do anything.
Yeah, we know what he can. He's kind of like when you get Alex Johnson on those runs. So
yeah.
Just go bear with me. I'm just gonna have a quick look. Let's have a look. He would be an Uber pod, mate, and I'm not paying $7.25 for him just quietly. He's $7.25, mate. That's a big price swinger right there.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely a pod play, that's for sure.
Yep. That's the same as people like I was almost did it myself. I'm pretty sure you did. Was Marzu at the start of the year?
Yeah, I started Marzu. Let's not go there.
All right, we got next game. We got Parramatta up against the Cowboys. Gutho, mate. Honestly, after Gutho the week before without Moses turning up, I thought maybe he'd be a sneaky little guy to bring in your team. And then what did he get last week? 23 or something he got?
Yeah, something shit. 28 or something ridiculous. Yeah.
So, but in saying that, they did get torn to shreds. So.
Yep. Obviously he was very disappointing. I actually thought that they might have toyed with the idea of putting him in the halves this week just to give him a bit more ball. You know what he can do when he has got the ball. He's a very dangerous player. In his defence, yes, he didn't have his best game, but he did save a couple of tries for them last week. But obviously the talking point is Talangi, Blaise Talangi. I mean, I did mention on our pod 2 weeks ago when everyone jumped on him that I did say that I was concerned about his job security and that he may not hold his spot. But I think we were all expecting him to potentially go back to the centres. I mean, I don't know what the hell Brad Arthur's doing picking Morgan Harper over him.
Yeah, Morgan Harper is a defensive liability, 100%. In saying that, I did remember when they played the Tigers a couple of weeks back, and it was up against Galvin, and Galvin just put the arms through him, and he fell over straight away. So I think Talangi not much better at defensively either.
Yeah, and obviously Sivo getting dropped as well, Dan.
And he scored 2 tries on the weekend, and he gets dropped. I imagine that. Bloody hell.
Well, he's not the best defender, unfortunately, but I mean, but at the same time, they need try scorers too, Dan. That's the thing. He's their only try scorer.
Oh, now all the try. Here we go. Here's a pod move for you. Everyone bring in Sean Russell. There's no one else can score a try in that team. So
I've had him in my team a couple of times for drafts, and he's just absolutely trash. Honestly, he's just terrible. But you got the Cardi party back in that team. Sean Lane's been underwhelming too. Dan, I'm glad I didn't jump on that. There was a lot of hype on him. You know, with him being outside Brown, he's going to do well, but he's been terrible.
Mate, honestly, there was a couple of players that I just didn't touch this year because I was like, I don't see the appeal. One of them was Brooks, and I thought I was wrong. Turns out I'm right. One was Lane, and at the start of the season, I thought I was wrong because he was starting to churn at some point. Turns out I was right. But then it's like I feel like I was getting before I realized I was right, I end up getting some FOMO and like, oh, should I bring him in? And I don't doubt myself, and I was right, so I feel good about that. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know what it is. At the start of the season, they get all this hype up, and they just like, they've got this pent up energy, and then they just get lazy after a few games.
I think the only person in that team that you can own other than Dylan Brown is obviously Hopgood. He's just churning along nicely and getting some decent scores, but other than that, there's nothing else there at all. It's just putrid.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this team at the moment. Maddo. Jump on Matto as well, but even he's not been like that great. He's just being solid, like he always is.
Yeah.
All right, look at the Cowboys. Got Drinkwater. Had a cracker game on the weekend. Definitely an option. I wouldn't be upset if you brought him in. I reckon with the way that the Parramatta Eels are playing, I reckon Drinkwater could get another decent ton this week.
I think so too. But then if you look forward, their draw gets a bit tougher.
Yeah.
So I think that. I don't know if I'd be trading him in this week because I feel like it's like a 1 week play, Dan, because you look at some of the draws from the other players that we mentioned earlier, and I just think that it's not great for the Cowboys after this. So I just think that I don't know if I'd be going there, but Holmes has been churning along nicely. Hopefully you can have a big one. This is what I love, mate. This matchup is absolutely ideal. If Holmes doesn't go big in this game, going up against Morgan Harper, then there's something wrong.
Yeah, that's it. And the thing is as well, like I got Holmes in my team, and I think that this is probably their best matchup they've got for a while. But it is away as well, so there is another negativity there. It is away. It is. I'm assuming at Bankwest because it's a Parramatta home game.
Yeah.
At 5:30 in the afternoon, which we know Bankwest does get a bit moist and slippery in the afternoon as well. So it might be more of a straight track for the forwards to have a crack rather than the back stepping and swerving.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, obviously with daylight savings finished now too, it won't be a all light game. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Mate, Reece Robson, Dan, far out. He's been killing it lately. My God, he got 117 last week. It seemed like he really didn't do a lot, but he's just churning out some massive numbers. I mean, as we said on the pod the other day, I mean, I know a few people who got on him over Grant, and mate, I wish I had too, but I'm not too hard and happy with Grant, but Robson's just been killing it.
Yeah, I think at the start of the season we did a little thing about getting off to the best start, blah blah blah, and I said we're talking about like who has in each position who's going to have the highest rank after round 6, and we all agreed and said Reece Robson, and right now he's what 60 points.
He'd be well ahead, wouldn't he?
Yeah, so he's on 390, and Mahoney's next on 337.
Wow.
So
because Mahoney's another one that's been killing it. Mahoney's been another one that's been killing it as well. I mean, Hasn't Nanai been underwhelming too, Dan? I was looking at him about 3 weeks ago because he's starting to bottom out a bit. But last week, 80 minutes, and he only scored like 25 points, I think it was, Dan. I know he relies on a lot of attacking stats, but that's pretty average.
Yeah. Honestly, I did actually call him. He was actually my guy. I was going to say he was going to be the highest scorer after round 6. I was looking for a ceiling player that would get attacking stats, but he hasn't been.
No, I don't even think he scored a try yet this year.
No, he had one good game. I think he had. One good game.
I'm just going to pull it up now. So he's had an 86, a 63, 46, 50, and 33. Not great. And he comes into a pretty hard one too, because you've got Para, Sharks, Penrith next 3 games as well.
Yeah. No, I'd be sticking away from him as well. Cotter's just plotting along nicely for me. Happy to have him in my front row. I'm not going to play around with him too much. I think he's doing the right thing for me. But yeah, it's not really much else to talk about there.
I think the only other thing we should mention too, Dan, is with Dearden as well. Obviously, only scoring 20 odd last week. Again, another one I wouldn't be panic trading out either. We obviously all know that there's a lot of mouths to feed there, and even Townsend starting to score well too. But I wouldn't be selling Dearden yet. I'd give him a couple more games, maybe at least give him this game and then move him on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we've got one of the Brooks fanboys in the chat room saying that Brooks has one of the highest averages of the 5'8", and he's made some cash. Yeah, good for him, but he's gone downhill from there. He's not going to be the best moving forward. He had a great start, and I've said it before. I thought I made a mistake, but I was wrong. In the end, he will be average and go back to what he was. So I think it was all the hype at the start of the season, starting in a new club, and now he's going to revert back to the way he was. So I stand by my Brooks bashing. All right, let's move on to the next game. We'll bring up. All right, Rabbitohs up against the Sharkies. I think one thing for me is I'm looking at potentially captaining Hines this week.
Oh, there's no brainer here, mate. Seriously, there's a few options. I mean, there's if you've got the balls play to do it, then you could easily captain Ponga on Thursday night. But again, like, why do it when you've got the option to loop there? But I guess it depends on who your AE is as well. I know a few people did straight captain him last week on Friday night, which was a balls up play considering the shit conditions that they played in. But yeah, definitely. Obviously, I can see Mulatalo going big this game as well. Isaiah Tassa's not exactly the best defender as well. Munro's just coming back from injury. It'll be interesting, but I'm excited to see Jai Gray. I've seen a couple of games of him this year in New South Wales Cup. Good young player. So I'm obviously not a buy, but he's definitely one to keep an eye on as well.
All right. Yeah, I got no idea what they're going to do here with Mamazilis playing hooker and no bloody Cook, mate. That's just.
I just want to say, WTF on that, Dan. Like, I'm sorry, but what the hell is JD doing? Like, okay, if you want to bring in Pete to start, fine, but why the hell would you not have Cook on the bench? He hasn't been that bad. Like, honestly don't believe he has. When what you're going to have Avili play some hooker, mate? He's too slow out of dummy half. He's a big body, mate. I don't know if he's trying to get sacked. I mean, obviously there's been a lot of rumors going around today that from Fox Sports and that supposedly Meninga may be taking over the role, but I still don't believe it. But that is a terrible side, and their forwards are struggling to run over 100 meters as well, Dan.
Oh yeah, no, they've needed some support in the forwards for a while now. The only one really holding the fort there for him is Cam Murray, and even he has been he hasn't had the support, so he hasn't been able to do good things for him. So, yeah, and like I guess the forwards on the other side, you look at Hazelton starting there. I like Hazelton as an impact player, but not really as a starter. But big bodies there. Then you got a bit more agile ones there with T. Wilton and Britton Nakora, McInnes, who can play for 80 if he wanted to. Like, he's got that bloody motor on him. And I reckon Kafusi, I reckon they're going to dominate these boys in the middle.
Oh, 100%. Like, even with the bench that they've got, I mean, you've got Talakai to come off the bench. You bring him on after 20 or 30 minutes when the South forwards start to get tired, and he'll just run amok. The other one that's been going well for them is that Tapua as well. He's a gun as well. And obviously having the quarterback's a big in for them as well. But, mate, that back line could score anything. Like, honestly, that back five, or I should say back six if you want to include Hines, they could all go close to turning up in this game.
Yeah, wouldn't be I know it wouldn't be. It'd be tempting to jump on a week early for Cairo. So it's a Cairo, yeah. So it's always a risk when you jump on a week early, but if you're going to do it, try and maybe sneak a little pod move potentially.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, look, I've really annoyed the group here. They're all going off about the Brooks fan club here. Okay, that's all right.
Oh, that's funny.
Love it. Alrighty, let's move on to our first Sunday night game. I'll just get that up there. Bear with me. All right, mate. Your boys take on the Dragons, mate. I don't know. You should be able to do it this week, surely.
Oh, I'm not convinced, mate. Obviously, still no Galvin back, and we've lost a couple of key forwards as well. So Bateman's gone with his HIA, and we've also lost Fainu, who's been absolutely brilliant off the bench for us as well. Yeah, look, it should be a good match. I'm not convinced that we're going to win, but you know, one thing I will say, Stefano's been absolutely killing it too. Obviously got extra minutes last week with the HIAs to Fainu and Bateman, but looking at that bench, they've only got one middle forward on the bench. He could be up for massive minutes again, I think, Dan. Probably should play close to 70 minutes.
Yes. Just quietly, I'm actually enjoying the fact that I've got Ben Hunt in this game. I just thought, but what you said before, you haven't got. I know you didn't have Galvin last week. A lot of pressure on such a young fella to be the reason for the more recent success that you've had. Those two games that you won. So I'm just I'm feeling like I know you needed some halves, but is it all really Galvin? Is that all on his shoulders?
Oh, I don't think we can put it all on him. To be honest with you, no. Obviously he has been killing it this year so far, but I mean, when you look at our number 6 of Jaden Sullivan, who for me is not even first grade material, and then they had Fainu there to come off the bench, and now he's done a hammy, so he's out for a few games. But look, I think our forward pack's still okay. It's not great, but Appy's been going well, so said Stefano. IPAP's been going okay, and Pole's been going well at lock too. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. Obviously, Lomax is obviously another one that people are looking at this week. There was a lot of talk that he was going to play fullback, which they did do a bit of changes during the game last week. But obviously, Sloan's been named there. But yeah, Hunt could go good this game for you, Dan. I have a feeling.
Yeah, I can see them probably playing half and half. So Lomax going to fullback half time or something like that they haven't done in the past.
I just want to say, Dan, just quickly, we've got a couple of listeners tuning in. So we've got Brad Smith and Tyrone Fisher tuning in. There's some interesting comments here. So Brooks is saying, Tyrone's saying Brooks is one of the highest average at 5/8 and has made cash, and he won the Dally M. And then Brad said he'll win the Logie as well.
Yeah, I love the Brooks fan club in the chat there.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I can't say anything negative about anyone ever. I never say anything negative, and as soon as I do, everyone jumps on me. I love it.
Hey, Brad Smith, I do agree with you. Lewis Brown is the GOAT of NRL too. Yes, that's correct.
I don't know. He was like the 80-minute second rower that got like 10 points a game. Like, I reckon Burbo's getting close, just quietly. Love it. Yeah, I think yeah, I see a bit of good points coming out of Ben Hunt. So I was going to start selling Ben Hunt soon. Look to go Ben Hunt to Cleary soon to have the Cleary Hines combo, which that means a set and forget. I'm done for the rest of the year. But I'm happy to hold out for as long as I need to until I can see Cleary's fitting well. So
yeah.
All Alrighty, let's have a look at the last game of the round. I'm hoping some big points in this one. There should be. So we've got Raiders up against the Titans in Canberra. So this could be a shellacking. When Canberra tend to step up against the in Canberra.
After last week's performance against Parramatta, I could see this being another repeat of that too. Very happy last week being an owner of Strange and playing Strange as well as Savage last week. I'm very happy with them. Dak Hoskins could be another one. Could be a sneaky pot as well. He comes back from his HIA as well, so he's definitely another one that could be an option. Hudson Young's been plotting along nicely as well for them.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Tomoko's the big one too. But Jesus Christ, I looked at him before. He's like he's over 700k now, Dan.
Yeah, mate.
But I will say he did this last year as well. He did the same thing last year, and he went on this run, and people jumped on him at over 700k, and then he lost like 200 or 300k cash.
Yeah, that's how it rolls. They jump on at the right time. That's why you got to be a fortune teller in this game, mate. You pretty much need to bloody. Like I said, the last few years, you're like, oh, I'm not going to pick this player because as soon as this player's back, he'll be off the team again, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm using Talakai as an example. There's no way I'm jumping on Talakai. As soon as Connor Tracy's back, he's gone. And then he played the whole year and he'd get like $500,000 in profit. And I was like, bloody hell. So I missed that boat. That was terrible.
I think the other one, obviously, too, Morgan Smithies is doing well. He got about a 60-odd last week, played 80 minutes. And obviously good news for owners as well because Horse has been ruled out for 6 to 8 weeks. So I don't think just quietly that's obviously good for the Smithies owners. And we found an offload in his game last week, Dan.
Mate, that was like I was annoyed because I had a choice. I had a choice to play him or Strange as my last reserve, and I was like, oh, I'll play Strange. So I'm happy with the result. Yeah. But then I realised, probably because I was looking at someone like Talangi who had decent base the week before. Who did shit all. I could have just played. I'd rather play both. But when I saw the offload, mate, I got pretty upset. I was like, I really want this. So now I'm not making the same mistake again, mate. I'm playing him this week.
Yeah. I think the only other one to keep an eye on, just as a cheapie too, is Trey Mooney, who's come onto the bench. He's at rock bottom price as well. Been absolutely tearing it up in New South Wales Cup. So if he gets some decent minutes at 230k or whatever he might be another one to keep an eye on as well.
Yeah, good. I think, especially if with Horse out, he might get that spot a bit more permanently there, which would be good. Yeah. Alrighty, over at the Titans, we got Jaden Campbell at fullback. He was another guy I was thinking about potentially replacing Dylan Brown with, as my number 6, obviously because he's a dual position there. I'm not totally convinced. Like he has a good score in him, but he hasn't really got. You need to rely on those attacking stats, and I don't see him in this team.
Yeah, no, I know a lot of people were keen on him pre-season because he was so cheap, and a lot of people had locked him in that 5/8 position, and obviously got ruled out and he was injured. But I haven't seen enough of him to go with him yet. If he starts to come good and they start to click, I think then he might be an option. But I still think until they fix up their halves, Dan, I think they're going to really struggle. I just thought when Forum went off last week and Brimson went into the halves, they just looked such a better team. Like they chucked on 20 points in no time with him in the halves. And again, I don't understand what the hell Des is doing. Like, okay, Forum, I don't have an issue with Forum being in the halves, but I'll say it again. Like I said the other day, why the hell is Tanner Boyd in this team? He's not a first grade player. I don't rate him at all.
He's having a shocker. Like. Like even like last year, he was just boring, not really showing anything at all. But he wasn't that bad. It's like he's gone down a peg.
It's just his general play kicking. Dan, he puts these bombs up, and it's just like it's a nothing kick. There's nothing happening with it. Like, I will say though that for those who are jumping on Dave Fafita this week, I love it as a pod play. I know he's uber expensive at like over 800k, but I don't hate the play I'm getting on him this week. But I think with a break even of 110, I'm happy to wait a couple more weeks for him to drop a bit more cash first.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about jumping on as soon as he had I was going to jump on as soon as I could. And I saw this matchup as well, and you got to think Hudson Young and Zach Hoskins on the edges there. I know I'm using both of them as an example because often Fafita will go different sides depending on what the mood the coach is in. Both can defend quite well and get quite aggressive. So I think this is not the week for it. So I was going to get him in first thing, but I've avoided it. So
yeah.
Alrighty, pretty much wraps everything up. Nothing really else to talk about. So Cleese Haas, slowly doing his thing on the edge there. Actually, one person he's playing 13 this week. I don't mind him. He's been doing pretty good things on the edge there, and now he's got the 13 spot. What are your thoughts here?
I don't know. This is another one. This is another position I don't understand, Dan. I always found that Aaron Clark was really good at lock for them. Just has that mobile body and does really well there for them. But I'm not convinced that he stays there. Look, who knows what's going to happen. Obviously, Bo Firma, for those who have held him, he scored a try on the weekend as well and plugged out a 71. So no doubt now that I've sold him and he's moved to the right, he'll probably start scoring tries again.
Yeah, probably, more than likely. Yeah, I'm looking here. So Cleese Harris is nice little discounted price here. So get the price up. It was like $3.90.
What minutes did he play last week, Dan?
So he played last week and he played 51 minutes, mate. But he got a 73 points. So I think he's got a try in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got a 35 and 48 points. And okay, yeah, on the edge, not so good. He got 34 and 80 in 80 minutes and 45 and 80 minutes. So yeah, might be an avoid. I just saw glimpses of greatness last week, and maybe it was just a one-off thing.
Yeah.
Always good to do these and do my own research live on the podcast. It's always good. All right, nothing really else to talk about. End of the podcast. Anything else you want to talk? Oh yeah, let's talk about trades. Let's talk about trades. What trade are we doing, mate?
So at this stage, I'm going Dom Young to Joey Manu is one trade. And the second trade, since we've been on this pod, I'm kind of rethinking it now because I was going Dylan Brown to Schuster via Ethan Strange.
Schiller.
Sorry, yeah. Schiller.
You don't want Schuster, mate.
Did I say Schuster? Shit. Oh my God, it starts a similar name. But I may also look at Jerome Hughes now too, just as a bit of a pod play because he's still lowly owned. And I just think he'll carve up this game against the Dogs as well. So you've got me rethinking my trades now, Dan.
No, that's what I do, mate. Make everyone think. So, and make everyone have a go at me for hating on.
Whatever I do will be the wrong one. Guaranteed.
Yeah, my trade this week. I need to do two. So I'm doing one trade that I know I have to do, and that's Latrell Mitchell out to Ponga in. I know when I made a mistake. I'm not too proud to know I made a mistake, and I'm not going to be like, nah, never again. But I will happily revert that trade back and bring Ponga back in. But to do that, I need to generate some cash. So honestly, I wasn't actually going to go Dylan Brown out to say someone like Tamare Martin or Campbell. Other option was to bring in Schiller and put Strange in my 5-8 position. Bit of a odd move there. I was a bit nervous about that. I told you before the pod, I was a bit nervous about it because having Strange and Galvin as my two 5-8s. But like you said, it's a very piss poor position this year, 5-8. So like someone's alluded to over here, the Brooksy's leading the 5-8s at the moment. That's a sad affair. Yeah, other option would be to keep Dylan Brown because I think he'll come good, and maybe trade out one of my mid-range centre wings for Schiller. I just have to pick which one.
Yeah.
So it could be a Bostock, which would be sad, but Bostock has not got the base in him. He's relying on tries, so I might just cut my losses there and maybe go Bostock to Schiller.
Well, I just opened up and typed in his name, Dan, and he's at 740k. I didn't realise it was that expensive. Wow. It's going to cost me another 100k. I've got the cash to do it, but it'll cost me another 100k to make the trade. But I still think it might be worthwhile. I still think he easily outscores Dylan Brown this week.
Yeah. Don't say that. If I keep him.
Sorry, not sorry.
Before we go, we'll do captains first, but captain, vice captain. So how are you thinking?
Ponga into Hines for me.
Pretty sad. That's what I'm probably going to do as well. So
pretty much that's about what 90% of people are going to do.
Yeah, kind of sad. Before we go, there was kind of one little question missed in here in the chat. So Stefano as a King replacement. Do you like it?
Yeah, I do. I mean, obviously the talk is that Max King has been ruled out, and he has got that same injury that Kurt Mann's got, which ruled him out for 3 to 4 weeks. I'm pretty sure the NRL physio put something up that he has been ruled out, and it will most likely be 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah, I do like that trade. I think Stefano is under-owned, and he's definitely an Uber pod, and he'll score well again this week. So I like it a lot.
I just want to know more about his consistency with minutes. Has he been forced to play extra minutes due to injury? Because I feel like he's been plodding around in the edge of Supercoach's minds for quite a couple of years now, and each time he let us all down with the amount of minutes he got. Just want to know, is he getting extra minutes because he's forced to, or is he getting extra minutes because that's the game plan?
Well, I think prior to this last game, he'd been playing on average of 56 minutes. He did play an extra 7 minutes last week, which may have been because of the HIAs to Fainu and also Bateman. But as I said to you, looking at that bench, you've only got one middle forward. So for me, that spells big minutes.
Yeah.
So I think I really like the trade in. I really, really do.
Might be finally about time for him to start paying some respect back to the Supercoaches that owned him in the past. Love it.
I know one thing's for sure is that I wouldn't be doing either one or two of the trades that are going to him. So Terrell May's number 1 to him and Flegler's number 2. I definitely wouldn't be doing that.
Oh, Flegler, if he gets ruled out, because I wouldn't be surprised if you see a late switch there with an AC injury. If Flegler doesn't get ruled out, then yeah. But if he's still playing, I would not be trading out Flegler. He's playing good footy.
Yeah, obviously it's by Jubals, but even number 4, why is people trading James Tedesco to Stefano?
It happens all the time. The way it works out, when you do a trade and you got to do press substitutes and stuff like that, he's probably trading out Teddy to like Manu instead of Wing, for example, and then they're bringing.
No, they're trading out Tedesco to Stefano.
When you're doing multiple trades at once, it messes up with the algorithm.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're doing you want to trade out Terrell May, and you're trading out Tedesco at the same time, get rid of both of them, then you bring in Stefano and you bring in, let's say, a Manu. It can mess the algorithm up a little bit.
Okay. Oh,
I don't always trust those.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Alrighty, that pretty much wraps everything up. Nice and neat, guys. Thank you all for listening in. We'll be back again next week. Hopefully, Glenn will be back. He's off doing things, saving the world at one person at a time. So, you're good to have him back next week. So, thanks, Glenn. All right, guys. Peace out.